So we got Papa Bear into the game. And we are into the draft.
Radiant team ban.
So, Sanity's Eclipse is going to have the first choice of bans and the first pick as well, with Kick-Ass Patrol out of Toronto, apparently. Having the choice between sides, and they went with Dire side, which will, of course, give them a slight advantage in going into the Roche pit, and we'll see if they leverage that to their advantage at all. Both teams casting out pretty common first-round ban picks, the Leshrock and the Gyromancer. The Lesh ban coming out from Kick-Ass Patrol is, I think, a very good ban out, especially since the opposing team in Sanity's Patrol, their captain, I Like That Panda, has been playing it quite a bit recently. So it bans out one of his strengths, and then on the back of that, Sanity's Eclipse bans out a Queen of Pain, another popular choice for
5 seconds remaining.
I Like That Panda. So it'll be interesting to see what he winds up playing in that mid role. It'll be someone that he hasn't played too recently, because Lesh has certainly been dominating his pickups as of late. First pickup coming out on Sanity's Eclipse is going to be Tusker. And then it switches sides over to Kick-Ass Patrol. So obviously they're going to take a little bit of time here, figure out how they're going to want to counter this hard initiation from Tusker with his Snowball and his Ice Shards. And even that Frozen Sigil is a nuisance to deal with in a team fight scenario. It's got a pretty large AoE and slows everything inside of it, allowing the Radiant team to catch up and finish off anyone who's weakened up after a big team fight. So the Earthshaker picked up by Kick-Ass Patrol, I think that's a good pick. Looking through Sanity's Eclipse recently played heroes, I've definitely seen a fair amount of Meepos, so this is going to act as a bit of a deterrent to that, as well as the fact that Earthshaker with his Fissure is a solid support character end to end.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining.
Kick-Ass Patrol's definitely making a good use of all the time available to them. They've dipped into their reserve time a little bit here, but not too much, just making full use of each of the rounds.
Witch Doctor.
And the second pickup also going to be a support for them in the form of a Witch Doctor. And Sanity's Eclipse responds quickly with a Rubik. I think that's a good pickup. There are already multiple good spells for him to pick up from the KAP team, including the Witch Doctor, Ultimate, his totem there, and the Death Ward. And as I mentioned, Fissure and Echo Slam are always good spells to grab.
Dire team ban.
I expect to see my big hero prediction for this game is we will see a Venomancer coming out as the second support for Sanity's Eclipse. It
10 seconds remaining.
pairs okay with Tusker in that he can roll in with him or just poison people, and add that additional slow factor to people so they can't get away. And then Ice Shard. Having to work your way through an Ice Shards is difficult enough as is. When you combine that with a slow effect, it becomes that much more of a nightmare. That, and because I've been cheating and I've seen it picked up a fair number of times in recent gameplay by Yillis and Jet, so I know it's in their repertoire down in Sanity's Eclipse, and it's a hero that they're comfortable playing around. The banouts for the middle role continue on both sides of the map, though, as Kick-Ass Patrol
Reserve time.
bans out the Storm Spirit, and Sanity's Eclipse bans out Bloodseeker, who can play as a middle. You can kind of have him in a bunch of different roles, though, but Queen of Pain, Lesh, Storm, all popular ban outs, and it looks like Sheepy, Sir Abracadabra, who predicted the Windrunner, is going to be wrong for this match, as it has been banned out.
10 seconds remaining.
Yes, the Gyromancer, as
5 seconds
Trial
remaining.
clearly called me out on. The Gyrocopter.
Reserve time.
Although Gyromancer would be an impressive new hero. It's Gyromancer who's... Or Gyromancer.
Dire team
It's a
pick.
Gyrocopter whose ultimate is he spawns tiny Gyrocopters. Or in this case, Gyromancers.
Radiant team pick.
Shadow Fiend is the middle pickup for Kick-Ass Patrol, or so I'm assuming. I'd be shocked to see him throw that hero anywhere else. And with an Earthshaker on the team, I think
10 seconds remaining.
I really like Shadow Fiend, because if Earthshaker can get a
seconds
decent
remaining.
rotation and a decent fissure block, it allows Shadow Fiend to drop those raises and get 2 or 3 of them relatively early in the match before Sanity's Eclipse middle has a chance to come online too much. And that gives Shadow Fiend the leg up in terms of farm and damage.
Needs assassin.
Dire team pick.
Sanity's Eclipse responds by picking up a Nyx Assassin. So I'm not exactly sure how they're going to play that.
Slada.
They have Tusker and Nyx
Team
Assassin who
pick.
can both potentially be offlane heroes. I'd be surprised to see both of them offlane, unless Nyx Assassin plays kind of as a bounty hunter, like an early roaming Nyx Assassin, maybe? Well, but right now they're definitely keeping their strategy close to their chest. They haven't played too
10
many cards
seconds
for
remaining.
KAP to figure out exactly where they're going to be going.
5
But-
seconds remaining.
It doesn't appear that they mind too much. They're kind of just playing and picking out heroes that they want themselves.
Reserve time.
They respond by picking up a Slardar, and that amp damage ultimate is going to be able to keep eyes out on Nyx Assassin, as well as help reduce some of the damage of all of the heroes that come flying into their face under the Tusker Snowball.
Lena.
Dire team ban.
Lena picked up as the likely middle candidate for Sanity's Eclipse. And it gives them some additional nuke damage. It's definitely one of the heroes that can blast down Shadow
10
Fiend
seconds
before he
remaining.
has time to do too much, especially if you land one of those Light Strike
5
arrays,
seconds remaining.
commonly called the LSA. And then you just follow it up with her ultimate,
Reserve
the
time.
Laguna Blade. Which at its base level does 450 damage. And once you upgrade it with Aghanim Scepter, it does a whole lot more. It pierces BKB, becomes a real nuisance.
Radiant team ban.
The final ban from the Dire side comes in the form of Sven. And you got one last ban remaining for Sanity's Eclipse. Both teams still have
10 seconds remaining.
a little bit of time left in the tank for their reserve time.
5 seconds remaining.
But they're picking these last heroes relatively quick, so it seems like both of them have settled into their game
Reserve
plan.
time.
They know who they're playing.
Dire team pick.
Sanity's Eclipse picks up a sense that the Slardar is going to be played in the safe lane, so they ban out a off-lane hero leaving Kick-Ass Patrol with one last pick. They got about 50 seconds left, and it's not going to be clockwork this game.
10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
They've dipped into the last of their reserve time. They'll have 20 seconds left here.
Spirit Breaker.
And it's Spirit Breaker for the off
Team
lane.
pick.
I like this pickup, especially with a Nyx Assassin in there. Of course, he's going to have a lot of trouble sprinting into a Rubik, who has his lift, Nyx, who has not only a stun, but the spiked Carapace, which is going to, he'll be able to kind of foresee that Spirit Breaker coming and pop that, which will in turn just turn Spirit Breaker's charge into a stun on himself, and then Lena's Light Strike Array. Tusker's Snowball is even a good evasion mechanic for Spirit Breaker, so they'll have a lot of ways to counter him, but if they don't see him coming, he's going to make a real mess.
Naga Siren.
Final pickup for Sanity's Eclipse is the Naga Siren, and that is a very annoying hard carry hero. So if the game winds up going long, the split push capabilities of Naga Siren are just gross.
Prepare for battle.
So calling out both teams here, we have I Like That Panda playing the Lena. On Tusker, you have Blue. Nyx Assassin is going to be played by a stand-in, Dot Dot. Rubik is being played by a stand-in as well, by the looks of it, by the name of Stupley. Then Naga Siren being played by Jiggly Please. Meanwhile, there's all sorts of drawings going on the map. Everyone drawing out different paths and everything. You have very defensive rune work being performed by both teams. You have 4 players from KAP protecting the top, and you have all 5 heroes from Sanity's Eclipse protecting this bot. So it looks like both these runes are already spoken for. But going through the mix, while we have everyone here, we got stand-in Soul playing on the Shadow Fiend, Dr. Dread playing the Witch Doctor with the new Immortal Monkey sitting on his shoulder.
The battle
Professor
begins!
Boop playing the Slardar.
Money to earn.
Earthshaker being played by
I got a lot
SK,
of gold riding on this.
as he wants to be called. King SK, S17, but I'm going to be calling him SK per request, and because it's a hell of a lot easier. And then Papa Bear, the last person to load, playing on the Spirit Breaker. They're all rotating into their lanes now. Sanity's Eclipse was successfully able to predict the safe lane Slardar, being supported by Earthshaker. You have Lena versus Shadow Fiend in the middle lane, and then the bot lane you have the remainder of the players. So you got Dreads, Witch Doctor Monkey, Spirit Breaker, Naga and Rubik on the side of the Radiant, and then it looks like what's starting out as a support Tusker, as he tries to stack the small camp but doesn't quite get it off. Some rotation. Blue puts his first point into Ice Shards, throws it out, and with a Naganet, they're going on Dread. They might just get it. He's one click away, and Rubik does finish the drill.
First blood. What is this?
So I don't think they were quite expecting the Tusker to kind of pop out of the shadows there, especially with Ice Shard. But they did have an Observer Ward kind of see the rotation there, or they should have been able to see it. In the top lane, a little bit of harass coming out from the KAP team as they outnumber the Nyx Assassin 2-1 in this lane. So They're gonna try to force him out with their dual stuns, but he's trying to keep his distance, make sure he collects that experience. He's popping clarity potions and tangos to make sure that he doesn't drop too low.
Regeneration.
A pull through happening by the combo support players on Sanity's Eclipse, allowing Naga to sit in this perfect spot right here, just next to the tree line. People can't really get behind her, and she's under protection of the tower if she needs it, but the tower's not hitting on the creep line, so it's not shoving that lane equilibrium back towards the Dire, allowing Naga a relatively peaceful time in terms of getting last hits and collecting her farm. Did have a roll by blue there, but no follow-up from the Naga, and so they're going to harass him out. A little bit of damage on both the offlaners on the Dire side, but nothing lethal. They do smoke up here, right under the Dire ward though. And Tusker's drawing out that he wants to kind of wrap around and go straight down the lane with it. Blue's in position, they're pinging out the Witch Doctor. Here comes the snowball. The net lands, the snowball lands, here's the lift from Rubik, and that's going to be death number 2. Coming out in this bottom lane. Both of those kills going the way of Rubik against the Dire support on Dr. Dread. They're pinging out the middle lane. They have rotations from Nyx Assassin. Oh, the Ice Shard's just short, so it looks like Shadow Fiend is going to be able to just waddle back to base, and Soul's going to live to fight another day here. Blue making a relatively early rotation here at the 4-minute mark. Same with the Nyx Assassin, who has left his lane completely open for Slardar to farm up at his leisure. Taking a look at these last hits, and that free farm has allowed him to take the lead for the last hits, putting him at 28, 2 above the leading last hit player from Sanity's Eclipse. Although now it's tied up as Lena gets a little bit of space at forcing Shadow Fiend back, but with the Spirit Breaker charge, they're going on her. She does pick up a consolation prize in dropping the Shadow Fiend, but at the cost of her own life. So it's a 1-for-1 trade in the middle lane. After the Spirit Breaker charge and the Earthshaker Fissure, we're able to pretty much guarantee her death. But she wasn't going down without a fight, and she takes down Shadow Fiend as she falls. And by doing so, she takes the lead in net worth as well. So she's sitting on 2,600 with Professor Boop on Slardar and Jiggly Please on the Naga, both fighting each other for champion of their respective safe lanes, sitting at about 2,500 net worth. Spirit Breaker kind of sitting in the woods right behind Shadow Fiend, making sure his mid's protected. They haven't been able to see Tusker for a bit. They know he's somewhere around here. So they're just wanting to make sure that the same fate does not befall their mid. But I like that Panda rotates top and gets the kill off on Witch Doctor, as well as the Earthshaker. She's damaging up Professor Boop, but with Spirit Breaker charging in.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Dire's bottom tower.
There was no way she was going to get out, but she does take out 2. The the two supports on the kick-ass patrol side of the fence. But being in the lead in net worth, I don't know if that was entirely worth it. Witch Doctor dying several times already means his life is not overly valuable. No offense to Dr. Dread. Forgot to turn on my overlays there. So, the Darmin cast overlays are now available and up on twitch.tv/DarminCast. I suppose I should provide the last bit of the URL there. The piece that matters. twitch.tv/DarminCast. So with Spirit Breaker kind of protecting mid, charging top, Naga has had time to continue farming. She takes the lead. She's got a Ring of Aquila, Quelling Blade, and you'll likely see her transition into your standard Manta plus X.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Rotations from Sanity's Eclipse, they dive into the jungle here. You have Nyx Assassin, level 6. He's popped his invisibility, his Vendetta. Ice Shards coming out from blue. He's running in with Fissure, and even under the tower, they're going to be able to drop the support Earthshaker. But King Boop gets a 2-man stun, and Nyx is going to pay for his crimes. They get an amp damage off on Tusker, and with a quick stomp, Slardar's going to be able to drop him. Oh, one hit away from also being able to claim the Rubik, but he gets out alive, even with the additional damage coming out from amp damage and the armor reduction there. So it's a 2-for-1. They are able to pick off the Earthshaker, but Tusker and Nyx Assassin both die, and Professor Boop, his amp damage spell, being able to catch both players and really increase the damage that they take. He did get one of those kills, and on top of his decent farm so far, I'm sure that's going to put him in contention for the highest net worth, and it does. So he's now ahead of Naga, but a little bit behind Lina, who is just kind of, after that rotation top and ganking out the supports, has returned back to the middle lane, and she's not fighting anyone here. She's free to last hit without any real contest. Same with Naga. She's back in the sweet spot, half underneath her tower, farming, almost uncontested as the supports are hanging a bit further back. But there is a charge coming out from Spirit Breaker onto Lina mid. They do catch him out with a Light Strike Array, but Nyx is right there waiting in the shadows, and between catching the Spirit Breaker with the Light Strike Array and the backup from Nyx Assassin, they are going to bring him down. Meanwhile, in the top lane, looks like Tusker died. I'm not quite sure how that one happened. So, trying to asking the fellow casters how Tusker died, and I'm getting that he was MC hammered by Slardar. So, Slardar, after getting that kill, disconnects from the game. So apparently he had the hammer that broke the internet. So while we're paused here, take a quick look at the XP per minute and gold per minute by both heroes. Blue sitting at 186 XP per minute, which is over 300 below the leader in the game, which is Lena. Lena currently sitting on level 10 with Blue sitting on level 6. And that's because Blue has been rotating like crazy, trying to act as one of those supports. Got pings coming out from middle. Looked like Dr. Dread was a little bit afraid of the Rubik, but what he doesn't know is it was just an illusion. A lot of rotations coming out from the bottom lane. Light Strike Array lands on 2, as well as Dragon Slave, and it looks like after they kill the first two, and the Slardar and the Earthshaker, the Spirit Breaker, they are also going to pick up the Earthshaker. So that's 3 down on the side of Dire for the 1 Naga.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Radiant structures are fortified.
Now with all 4 Radiant heroes in the bottom lane, they're going to use this to kind of push that tier 1 tower. Meanwhile, it looks like Saul on Shadow Fiend is trying to do the same in the middle lane, but Jigglypuff ports in and defends his tower while his allies are able to finish off the first tier 1 tower of the game in the bottom lane for the side of the Radiant. Both teams picking out this bottom rune, and it might be a bloodbath here, so Lena's sprinting ahead, seeing if she can catch this Spirit Breaker, but he ducks into the woods, breaks that line of sight, and he's going to be home free.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Got more users in the chat channel proclaiming that Sanity's Eclipse has already won, and they do have a bit of a lead right now with the 11-6 scoreboard, about 3,000 experience in their favor, and just over 4,000 experience in their favor. Big chunk of that coming in the form of the tower that they just took, as well as a couple decent team fights. Got Professor Boop trying to stack up the ancient, or not the ancients, excuse me, one of the neutral camps. Dr. Dread also pointing out that some of the neutrals are available to him, and Shadow Fiend dips into the jungle, happy to farm these up, happy to get back on pace and build up his Necromancery again. Right? Necromastery. The 2 supports. From Sanity's Eclipse rotating into the jungle, looking for him, maybe suspicious that he is farming the neutrals, but they haven't quite gone deep enough yet. They have the illusions beating on the tower top,
Dire's top tower
and
is under attack.
if Saul isn't careful, he'll find himself in some trouble here. But you got a smoke coming up on the side of Kick-Ass, and Slardar now has his blink. He pops the amp damage on Nyx Assassin, and with that, he's not going to be able to get away. But I like that Panda porting in and getting the consolation kill on the Slardar, and all the while in the top lane, it looked like Saul did kind of poke his head out, and the 3 heroes from Sanity's Eclipse, the Stupley, Jigglypuff, and Blue, were able to pick off Shadow Fiend. Got Naga rotating to the bottom lane, take advantage of some of this open farm now that the team fight has kind of dissolved and rotated around. Spirit Breaker charging into the top lane. We'll see if he is able to connect this time. Rubik gets Fissure, but right now he's currently stun locked. He gets his Fissure off, but it's kind of trapping himself. He was kind of pinchered between the Fissure and the ice shards that his Tusker ally had provided to him. And with 3 heroes there, all of which having stuns from Kick-Ass Patrol, they were able to bring down the support Rubik, who stuck his head a little too close to the tower and didn't see the Spirit Breaker charging in through the jungle until it was just too late.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
So we'll have some pressure on the tier 1 tower top here. coming out from the Dire side, as well as pressure on the Tier 1 bottom. Meanwhile, Sanity's Eclipse are able to bring down their second Tier 2 tower of the game in mid. The coconut bounce coming out from Witch Doctor's Monkey Immortal. I do love that renewed audio sound. It makes Cask sound pretty awesome. So Lena has now picked up her Blink Dagger. It'll be coming to her shortly, I presume, on the Courier. And so you'll have a Blink Dagger on her, on Lena, as well as a Blink Dagger. I thought I saw one on the Slardar. Yep, sitting on Slardar. So 2 Blink Daggers so far this game. Everyone getting into position, and he's putting that Blink Dagger to use. He blinks in and amp damages the Lena, who uses Spirit Breaker as he charges in. Cask comes out, but with Spirit Breaker also beating up the Lena, she's stun locked, not able to toss out a ton of spells. Witch Doctor drops his ult for the 3rd kill in the top lane, and that is a 3-0 fight so far, going the way of Kick-Ass Patrol, and they're going to be free to push. The last 2 heroes still alive for Sanity's Eclipse are in the jungle and back at base. So, excellent play by Kick-Ass Patrol, grouping up and just with all the stuns coming out on their team in the form of the Blinking Slardar, the Fissure, the Spirit Breaker Charge, the Spirit Breaker Ultimate, and then that Cask bouncing around in an AoE team fight. Just too many stuns for the 3 heroes in the form of Rubik, Lena, and Tusker to be able to handle. Shadow Fiend cutting the wave, but now Ice Shards catches him on the wrong side of the tower. Blue rolls in with Nyx Assassin. The stuns come out on both sides of the map. There are fissures on both sides of the map from Earthshaker, and the Stolen Fissure from Rubik create just kind of a V-trap over here on the lane, and that allows Lena to start picking off people with her high attack speed, her dragon spells, and Tusker rolling around, and KAP has overextended into the tower. While they are able to take a fight 5 versus 3, it looks like 5 versus 5. Sanity's Eclipse is still ready to team fight and still ready to take them to the cleaners. So it's a 5-0 going the opposite way here, and now Sanity's Eclipse are probably going to look to push this top and final Tier 1 tower. Radiant's up and alive on Naga Siren, so her illusions are going to be able to start split pushing fairly effectively.
Dire's top tower has fallen.
And you'll see increased lane pressure coming out from Sanity's Eclipse here. She sends 1 illusion down the lane, and the rest she sends with her allies. They do pop a smoke. I presume it's a smoke. Catch just the tail end of it there. Lena's putting her new Blink Dagger to use, blinking over, catching Witch Doctor out with a Light Strike Array. It also happens to land on the Slardar, but I don't think she was ready for it to hit both heroes, because immediately after casting her Laguna Blade, she backs away. Nyx Assassin pinging it out, saying he wants to dive a little deeper, take more, but they decide one's enough. They rotate down, and it looks like they're going to go back to putting lane pressure. The illusions farming out the jungle and just creating vision and chaos for vision for the Radiant side, chaos for the Dire side. But Slardar is able to get an amp damage up on Tusker, so they're going to be able to see him, see his rotations. I'm guessing it wasn't a smoke that allowed them to kind of rotate through that jungle. I'm guessing the Lena had an invisibility bottled up.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
They start poking at that middle tier 2 tower, with Naga pulling the 2 small camps on the Radiant side, and she ports back to base to regen, buy her boots of travel, and now she's ready to push multiple lanes at once. Slardar pinging out that they do have wards in the area here, And I'm not sure. So this sentry is not able to see this sentry, but this sentry is able to see that observer ward. So Radiant know that they have
Dire's bottom tower
dire
is
vision
under
on that
attack.
high ground, but they don't know about this one in the middle lane, and they don't know about the sentry right next to it. So looks like the teams are going to try to trade here. Nope. Rotations from Kick-Ass Patrol. Looks like they are going to contest their tier 2 tower. Fissure comes out. Rubik steals it, immediately throws it back their way, lifts the Slardar, but in doing so he drops himself under tower range. Blue rotates in and tries to save his ally, but isn't able to do so. Now stuns coming out from the Spirit Breaker, and another Ice Shard from Tusker as he tries to block off the retreat of the Dire camp. Both teams falling very low right now. Blue's down to 1 hit, and the Enchant Totem not going to be able to drop, so Blue's going to live. He's going to try to teleport out. The creep's beating on him, and he gets out with 30 HP. That Frozen Sigil may have been enough of a attack speed deterrent to keep the creeps from actually dropping him there, because he was very low. He and Nyx Assassin both. So at the end of the day, it's a great team fight for Sanity's Eclipse, but the only people making it the distance are the Nyx Assassin and Blue on the Tusker. That is going to provide him with some of the experience that I'm sure he's been waiting for. Still sitting at about 300, so he's jumped above Rubik, and he's now on par with Slardar, actually, so. Have some artwork coming out from the Nyx Assassin, pointing towards the Roshan pit.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack. Radiant's middle
As the Dire team tries to group up and defend their tier 2, but Professor Boop steps too far out of range of his tower. He gets picked off. Spirit Breaker, desperate to protect his ally. Ultimate's in as well. Dr. Dread, fearing for his life, knowing what's about to come, sprints back to his base. He's behind the tier 3 tower. Boop buys back, and they are able to drop the Nyx Assassin, but Dr. Dread still not able to get away. They're diving deep here, deep into enemy territory to kill off everyone behind the lines, but another Blink Dagger coming online, and Earthshaker, he gets a big Echo Slam against 3, followed up with a Fissure and Enchant Totem, and he's able to make Sanity's Eclipse pay for their aggression, dropping 3 different heroes. And so it's 4-4. I'm going to say 4, because there was the Slardar, the dieback Slardar, the Witch Doctor. Charge coming in on Jiggly Please. Don't know if they have another stun. They do throw the urn on her, so she's going to be burning. She's down to 150. She dives into the creeps. Fissure coming the way of the creeps. They were expecting the deny to come, but teleports in from the allies, and Nyx Assassin there to kind of distract the Spirit Breaker and Earthshaker, and Nyx is going to exchange his life for the safety of Naga. Not the funnest play in the world, but definitely the smart play economically.
Look at it go!
So yeah, there was, in the middle lane, there was 2 Slardar deaths, 1 buyback, the Witch Doctor death, and a Spirit Breaker death for the Rubik, Nyx, Tusker, and Lena. Little de-warding coming out from Rubik. They spot him out. They're pinging him. The Witch Doctor's pinging him. But
Haste.
no charge. Now both teams are content to reset after that big fight. The middle tower down to about a quarter HP here. It didn't take too much damage in that middle encounter because all of the Radiant heroes were kind of up here, up on this ledge, and just kind of fighting under a tower, under an immune tower. And Naga even rotated to the bottom lane, I believe, to join the fight. But Light Strike Array coming out on the Slardar. They are able to drop her. Ice Shard's trying to isolate one more. He goes into the snowball, picks up half his team. But on Earthshaker, and that probably spells his death. Light Strike Array slightly off the mark, but I think they still have enough damage. Spirit Breaker charging in, and he actually gets fissured by the Rubik, and so his charge gets delayed. A beautiful song coming from Naga allows her 3 allies to escape, all with about 10% health, and then she puts a little bit of a pause on it herself, and she teleports out. And that right there is the beauty of carrying Scrolls of Town Portal, especially on a Naga team, where you can dive as crazy as they wanted to. They got the 3 pickoffs, again, kind of ignoring this middle tier 2 tower, and fighting in the jungle right off the Radiant base.
Dire's top tower has fallen.
They kill the 3, Naga pops her ult, they head back to base, recharge, reset, and go back to farming. Taking a look at the Dire Vision, they have
Regeneration.
a little bit in this middle lane here with some of the extra wards, but not a ton. And with the Naga Illusions providing them constant vision, providing that miss chance against the right-click heavy heroes, the right-click cores in the Shadow Fiend, Spirit Breaker, and Slardar. I'm eager to see how they build from here. There's a BKB up on Shadow Fiend, still got its 10-second charge on it. So while he's under the influence of that, he'll be able to kind of ignore the burn and go from there. Nyx Assassin pops Vendetta. He begins to scout out. Got a pause coming out from Tusker. They're saying that orange is lagging. You can't have Naga lag, as he is the carry. Got the entire Dire team kind of grouped up here in the middle, with Spirit Breaker not too far off in their jungle, just off the side there. Curious to see if they're going to go back to try to protect their racks, or if they think now is a good opportunity to push. Again, they don't have a ton of vision, so they see the Naga down here in this lane, but they're probably not sure if that's the real Naga or an illusion, and they're pinging out saying they're probably doing Roshan. And switching over to the Radiant Vision, that's exactly what they're doing. So very good game sense and awareness coming out from, I believe that was the Witch Doctor ping. So Dr. Dread saying, hey guys, they're probably doing this. They're rotating into position. They don't have their big damage hero on the Naga. Slardar blinks in right on top of Roshan. They suspected it, and they were right. BKB popped from Shadow Fiend, and the Radiant team starts to run. Witch Doctor dropped his totem, but it didn't last long as he was nuked down right away. Some stuns coming out from Roshan, slowing down the Shadow Fiend, but the Tusker falls from on the side of Sanity's Eclipse. And with everyone else low in HP, the Nyx Assassin, the Rubik, even the Lina, they start to back off. But it looks like they're ready to re-engage. Naga's here, she pops her ult. Roshan's down to 1500 health. And it looks like they're grouping up, getting ready to go on the Shadow Fiend. But allies are showing up in mass force for Kick-Ass Patrol, and now Naga's stranded without her ultimate against 4 heroes. Blue tosses in ice shards, trying to get whatever kills he can, but it's not going to be much. And Kick-Ass Patrol clean house, and they finish up the rest of the Sanity's Eclipse team. Saul on the Shadow Fiend drops Roshan as well, and he picks up the Aegis. So, big swing going their way. That's a 7,000 gold and 7,500 experience swing going the way of Kick-Ass Patrol. And this will likely be a tier 2 tower. The only people who are going to be alive to contest this are going to be the Rubik and the Nyx, especially if they have any sort of reveal, which they do on the Witch Doctor. This should be relatively easy to get for them. Boop spending some of that newfound Roshan money and teamfight money buying the BKB. He throws his stomp out, but it's slightly off the mark. Dr. Dread throwing the cask and the ward up on supply. Our Stupley, who pops his smoke and he runs back to base, having taken a bit too much damage. Blue pinging out the bottom lane. He wants to make sure that they don't take too much of a gold advantage from this. And you can see that sharp decline. Shadowblade coming out from Papa Bear. And he knows that Blue's down here. Nice. The Blink Enchant Totem Fissure coming out from SK onto Blue. Papa Bear charges in, and he's going to be able to drop him. But a big Laguna Blade from Lina. I take it back. Blue lives. He was able to drop into the snowball and evade for a little bit of time. But Lina teleports in, starts picking off heroes of her own, and now Saul's stranded on an island by himself. Boop blinks in. The first Shadow Fiend ultimate is dropped as he comes back to life under the Aegis. But Lina's still in play here. She's still dropping Light Strike arrays. But the raises from Shadow Fiend dropping her off, and he's on a mega kill streak. The net coming out from Naga, and the double hero stun from Nyx Assassin pick off the Witch Doctor and the Nyx Assassin. They'll get to the deny, and another swing in the opposite direction. It seems like every time Kick-Ass Patrol get a chance to really steal the show and bring the team fight under their control, there's an unfavorable exchange immediately after it, and this is another example of that. You had 4 deaths and a buyback from Nyx Assassin there for the 5 hero death on Kick-Ass Patrol, but they also lost the Aegis, so it's closer to a 6 hero death for a 4 hero death.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Tusker responds to the new Shadow Blade on Spirit Breaker by picking up a quick gem. He's not gonna let that Spirit Breaker get away from him, but I've been seeing this Shadow Blade used more aggressively than defensively as a runaway tool, so it might help him get a stun, a fissure, or a lift off if they do see that Invis Space Cow charging at him. Silver Edge being the next item pickup, it looks like, for Spirit Bear. Not really sure what that's intended to do. It would disable the Fiery Soul passive, and he's taking quite a bit of damage from just the regular lane creeps here, so he's going to head back to the fountain. But everyone else, I don't know if Silver Edge is the ideal choice. It certainly doesn't hurt. It plays into his abilities really well, so it's not a bad item. I just don't know that it's going to get the most use out of all the Silver Edges.
Who turned up the heat?
Shadow Fiend pinging out the Naga mid. And they know they're all rotating around the bottom lane here. They see him dewarding, they're pinging it out. They know they're lurking somewhere in their side shop here. And it looks like Dire's just posting up for the Rat Dota double lane push. They have the top lane being pushed out by the Naga Illusion, so even it's going to start hitting the tower. And then in this bottom and mid lane, you kind of have a split team here with Rubik and Naga in the middle lane, Tusker and Lena, who has double damage.
Middle tower is
It
under
looked like.
attack.
Maybe I'm just losing my mind. In the bottom lane. And Nick's assassin kind of rotating between the two. Professor Boop blinks to the low ground, or he might have been lifted there. I think he was lifted. Yep. I'm not seeing any blink dagger usage from Slardar, so I'm guessing he was lifted and thrown to the low ground. So a little bit too close to the ledge, and Stupley takes advantage of it. So now they push high ground. Naga Lucian's going in, distracting and harassing the Dire team, while Naga pokes on the middle tower, Lena pokes on the bottom tower, and both towers currently sitting at half HP. The Dire team just kind of rotating back and forth right now, not quite sure how to force this fight, not quite sure who to engage on. 4 heroes converge bot, along with some Naga images. Witch Doctor throws a cask out on blue just to harass them out. Try to force them back onto the low ground, but the first base tower falling by Jigglypuff in the middle lane, and she's not done. She dives in, she wanted Saul, and they still might get him. Blue rotating in hard, but Dr. Dread drops his ward, and that's going to be the end of the Tusker. But now the Naga Illusion coming in, riptiding, and that'll be enough between that and the Radiance to drop the Witch Doctor. Lena picking off the Spirit Breaker who was charging at Rubik. Now Naga's harassing Earthshaker out, while Professor Boop tries to man mode in the middle, and he is able to finish the Rubik, but gets netted, BKB or not, by the Naga. And it looks like this is going to be the last stand. You have buybacks coming out from the Slardar. Saul sitting in the middle. He's winding up his ult, but it's interrupted by Jigglyplease, who pops her asleep. They send in the illusions, and it looks like the Radiant are going to fall back here, leaving the Naga illusions behind to burn down whatever neutrals they can and keep the lane pressure up in the middle. So the remainder of the team falls back for the Radiant. Jigglyplease rotating into the jungle, the others teleporting back to base. Looks like Nick's assassin is the new carrier of the gem. It was Tusker, but I believe it's kind of rotated through a couple hands over the course of these team fights. And all of the racks still standing on the Dire side, and in fairly good health, but the first base towers have fallen.
Money to burn.
I got them with power.
A couple heroic effigies sitting over here. You have the Come At Me Bro by Papa Bear. More pings on Roshan, but they're gonna check that and see that it's not up. Nope, not yet. It's into its last couple minutes here. Naga spelling out lag in the map. Cask coming out on Jigglyplease, and he's relatively stunned. Saul pops his BKB, and it looks like he's going to try to 1v1-er, but I like that Panda rotating over, popping Laguna Blade, and Jigglyplease will live with barely any HP and taking down the Shadow Fiend. Rubik force staffs himself to the high ground, and so he's able to continue poking very weakly against the Spirit Bear, or Spirit Breaker, Spirit Bear. But Slardar was able to spot him out, blink up, and finish him. So Slardar immediately teleporting back home after that, knowing that the rest of his allies had fallen, and he was able to pick off what he could, which was that Rubik who thought he could man mode from the high ground, having forced himself above the Spirit Breaker. But a blink Slardar will beat a force staff Rubik.
Bottom barracks are under attack.
But with the Dire team down, you're gonna have The casual supports and Lena poking down what I presume is going to be the first Rax of the game, unless Slardar gets real aggressive. But Nyx blinks out. You do have the blinking Slardar going after Lena here after the Rax has fallen, but she yules and gets herself home. Snowball from the Tusker into the Witch Doctor, but he's probably just conceding that he's dead and trying to make space for his allies to get back and get home safely. The ranged Rax fall. Meanwhile, Jiggly Please applying pressure to this middle lane, popping illusions, putting the Dire team to sleep, but she's not able to get out completely. Spirit Breaker sees her, charges her, and gets Yuled up by the Lena, who through a few different stuns is able to control both the Spirit Breaker and the Slardar. It looked like Spirit Breaker's cast animation for his Nether Strike went off just as Lena popped her BKB, and that was her 9-second BKB charge. She blinks forward, finds the Slardar, and there's enough control for him that he's just going to get tossed around and eventually exploded by this Lena, who, with her Yules, her Laguna Blade is sitting on a 50-second cooldown, so it's going to be ready almost every time she needs it. And Rubik is able to pull the amplified damage off of the Slardar before he goes down. So, going into this next Roshan, they're going to be able to drop his armor relatively low. Both teams posturing up, but what they don't suspect is the Invis Rubik. The double hero stun lift combo, but Lena blinks in, and just as she does, Earthshaker blinks in as well and pops his Echo Slam. But popping BKBs looks like Radiant Team is going to be able to just AoE the entirety of Kick-Ass Patrol's team down, and it's a 1-for-5 exchange. Gem hits the ground from Nyx Assassin, but there's no real threat there. The Rubik picks it up. They ping out Roshan, but I think they decide, you know what, the entire team's down. They probably don't have mini buybacks, so let's go get a second set of racks, maybe a third, and see if we can end this. They drop the tier 3 tower in the top lane. Jiggly Please pushing top. Rest of the team pushing and crushing the middle racks. So the last lane of racks to survive. In the top lane, melee racks is about to fall. Ranged racks did fall. Professor Boop blinks in BKBs, stuns Naga trying to get through anything. But with that Laguna Blade piercing through BKB, it doesn't matter. He's going to get lasered down by Lena. Spirit Breaker gets netted. He's down. And now all the buybacks have been used. Blown. KAP calls GG. And the last buildings in the Dire base start to fall. There's one effigy still standing, but everything else has turned to dust. So that's going to be it for Game 1. Sanity's Eclipse taking the first in this best of 2 series. Just providing enough space and enough time for that Naga Siren to get her Manta, get her Radiance and Octarine Core, and just have illusions everywhere and keep constant pressure up. Incredible performance from the Lena, who was able to get multiple multi-hero LSAs. But there were a lot of good stuns throughout the game. You saw multiple double and triple hero stuns coming from Nyx Assassin. You had a lot of fissures on both sides of the map, actually, from both Earthshaker and Rubik stealing fissure throughout the fight and using it back against them. And it shows on the scoreboard. The assists are in the 20s across the board for Sanity's Eclipse, and you even have Earthshaker hitting the 22 mark, because when there was a fight, those players were there. They were helping out in any way they could, throwing down area of effect skills, linear stuns, whatever they could. My personal highlight for play of the game has to go to Naga Siren, though. with the clutch ultimate, the clutch Song of the Siren, in securing the retreat of her 3 incredibly injured allies. I believe it was Lena, Nyx, and Rubik, who were all able to port out underneath the Song, and after buying them 1 or 2 seconds to begin their cast, she cast herself, and they were all able to successfully retreat. And it was just a very clean, very easy 3-for-nothing gank, as well as a very, very cool retreat out of enemy territory. So that's it for game 1, going 43 minutes 28 seconds, and we will be back in just a few minutes for game 2 between Sanity's Eclipse and Kick-Ass Patrol. Stay tuned.